The dark cloudy sky brings autumn twilight to a quiet residential neighborhood in the suburbs of St. Paul, Minnesota. The white craftsman-style house in the Summit Hill district is Melissa Wilson's cherished home. In the well-tended flower bed in front of the entrance, seasonal flowers bloom in a variety of colors. The bells of St. Paul Cathedral ring softly in the chilly air. Standing in the kitchen, Melissa occasionally glances out the window while preparing dinner. Though petite in stature, she's known for her warm smile and is a veteran nurse with over 10 years of experience in the pediatric ward at Regents Hospital. She's highly trusted by her patients and beloved by her colleagues. On her days off, she participates in church volunteer activities and often looks after neighborhood children. While her annual salary of $65,000 isn't particularly high, she takes pride in her fulfilling work. Upstairs, her 12-year-old daughter April is working on her homework. A first-year student at St. Mary's Middle School, she's known for being bright and observant. She practices her violin regularly, her long brown hair swaying as she plays. She has a kind personality and is devoted to her father, maintaining a good relationship with her mother as well. Lately, she's been borrowing her father's cell phone more often for school communications. Her husband Michael was promoted to sales manager at the major pharmaceutical company Medtronic 3 months ago. Tall and handsome, his clean-cut appearance earns him trust from many people. His stable annual income of $120,000 provided the family with a comfortable life. However, he had recently been traveling more, frequently away from home, citing business with the Chicago branch office. While he appeared to be an ideal husband and father on the surface, he harbored a side that no one knew about. They've lived in this house for 3 years. Though they still have a $2,000 monthly mortgage payment, the Wilson family had been living fulfilling days. Their 3-bedroom home with its clean, predominantly white interior was built in the 1920s and often serves as a venue for neighborhood home parties on holidays. The open kitchen overlooks a spacious family room, and the layout is ideal with a complete laundry room. They're particularly close with the Johnsons who live across the street, deepening their friendship through weekend barbecue parties. The backyard features a small garden, one of Melissa's cherished hobbies. It includes a main garden and patio, serving as a relaxation spot for family time on holidays. There are 2 entrances, front and back, and the entire garden is visible from the second-floor windows. The aroma of a casserole baking in the oven fills the kitchen. Tonight, she's preparing hot dish, a Minnesota traditional dish. Melissa was also preparing cookie dough for tomorrow's church volunteer activities. Amazon boxes delivered in the morning are stacked by the front door, and the family's Ford Explorer is parked in the garage. The neighborhood bustle of DoorDash delivery drivers passing by has become a familiar part of daily life. Melissa glances at the clock. It's almost 6 p.m., almost dinner time. She was about to take the finished hot dish out of the oven. As the savory smell of cheese wafts through the kitchen and the usual twilight scene spreads before her, the doorbell rings just as she reaches for the oven mitt. Michael's business trip should still have 2 days left. Melissa tilts her head in confusion as she heads to the front door. Looking through the peephole, she sees her husband standing there. He had just called from Chicago yesterday. He's holding a large suitcase and an unfamiliar black sports bag. His smile is brighter than usual, and his expression suggests he has something to say. His tie is an unusually flashy pattern, and his shirt collar is disheveled. "Melissa, I'm home. I have a wonderful surprise." Michael's voice carries an unusually excited tone. There's an exaggerated cheerfulness that differs from his usual composed demeanor. Melissa thinks that perhaps his business negotiations in Chicago went well. But something lurking behind that cheerfulness makes her uneasy. "Come on, open up. I bought lovely presents for everyone." Michael lightly shakes the luxury brand paper bag he's holding in one hand. The Gucci logo gleams golden in the twilight. As he moves, the black sports bag sways ominously. A faint odor reaches Melissa's nose. It's an unsettling smell she recognizes from somewhere. Similar to what she smells when accident victims are brought to the hospital. Just as she's about to respond, hurried footsteps echo from upstairs. She sees April rushing down the stairs. Her movements are awkward, different from her usual energetic gait. Melissa now remembers that something had seemed off about her since she returned from school. "Mom." April grabs her mother's arm tightly. Her small hands are trembling. Her face is pale, with a light sweat on her forehead. Her eyes are wide with fear, tears glistening. Melissa has never seen such an expression on her daughter, who usually spreads cheer with her bright smile. "What's wrong, April?" "Mom, don't let Dad in." April's voice is hoarse. Her whisper in her mother's ear carries an unmistakable urgency. Her daughter's trembling hands transmit their shaking to Melissa's body. "We need to run, right now." Outside the door, Michael's demeanor begins to change. His cheerful tone disappears, replaced by visible irritation. In the dim twilight, his expression, viewed through the peephole, seems to gradually distort. "Melissa, why aren't you opening the door?" I can hear April's voice too. The sound of knocking on the door begins. At first, it's gentle, but gradually grows stronger. The smell from the black bag is now clearly identifiable. It's kerosene. Melissa's spine freezes. As a nurse, she's sensitive to the smell of dangerous substances. There's no mistake. When I borrowed Dad's smartphone before, I saw his emails. April's voice trembles but desperately strings words together. Her eyes hold a fear too heavy for a 12-year-old girl to bear. He's been emailing with a woman named Linda, about insurance money, plans to make it look like an accident. The knocking on the door becomes even more violent. Michael's voice takes on an angry tone. His voice carries a roughness she hasn't heard in 15 years of marriage. "Open up. You'll regret it if you don't open it right now. Dad found out. He said if I told the police, he would." "Mom." April's voice catches. Large tears fall from her eyes. Her shoulders shake in small tremors. "I saw what's in the black bag too. Kerosene and a lighter." Fragmentary memories race through Melissa's mind. The promotion 3 months ago. Increased business trips. Changes to the high-value life insurance policy. Changes in her husband's behavior. Unfamiliar receipts in his wallet. Late-night smartphone exchanges. Everything starts connecting. The front door makes a creaking sound. The lock is beginning to give way. Melissa makes an instant decision. The cool judgment she developed as a nurse serves her well in this crisis. April, the back door. Mother and daughter move quickly. They cross the living room, through the kitchen, to the back door. But there, an unbelievable sight meets their eyes. A strange woman stands at the edge of the garden. She's holding a smartphone, seemingly waiting for some signal. A young woman in a business suit. A Medtronic company badge glints faintly in the twilight. Probably Linda, the subordinate from the Chicago branch. Michael's accomplice. Her expression, visible through the window, shows calculated cruelty. No, both front and back. April's voice trembles. Melissa, holding her daughter close, thinks quickly. There's still hope. The Johnsons should be having their regular Thursday bridge gathering. If they can get to a place with plenty of witnesses. The front door shakes violently. Time is running out. From beyond the door comes the sound of something falling to the floor. The sound of liquid spilling. And the sound of a lighter being struck. Melissa takes her daughter's hand again. April, do exactly as I say. We'll make it through this. Her mother's voice is surprisingly calm. Her experience facing countless critical situations as a nurse now supports her. She knows better than anyone the weight of protecting life. In the darkness, mother and daughter were about to make their final gambit. The house gradually fills with the smell of kerosene. Michael's angry shouts from the front, Linda's movements from the backyard. In this situation where escape routes are disappearing, Melissa and April decided to stake everything on their one remaining hope. Upstairs. Melissa makes an instant decision. In the darkness, mother and daughter rush up the stairs. The mother's hand holding April's small hand has a strange strength. They move carefully along the wall to avoid making footsteps. Behind them, the front door continues to creak. Michael's shouts shake the walls. Occasionally, they hear liquid spilling from the black bag. The smell of kerosene gradually creeps up the stairs. They rush into April's room on the second floor. Melissa immediately locks the door and pushes a heavy dresser against it. Michael reacts to the sound of moving furniture downstairs. There's nowhere to run. Footsteps coming up the stairs. There are signs that Linda has also entered the house from the backyard. Melissa calmly analyzes the situation. Her mind, experienced in crisis management as a nurse, works with surprising clarity. April, your smartphone. Dad found it and took it away. Her daughter answers in a trembling voice. Melissa looks at the landline, but the line has already been cut. She looks out the window. Though it's the second floor, it's too high to jump. Linda is no longer visible in the backyard. On the street in front, a blue sedan is parked unnaturally. I know what you're thinking. Michael's voice echoes through the wall as he reaches the top of the stairs. His voice no longer carries any trace of her husband. Insurance fraud would be obvious to the police. Melissa responds in a resolute voice. Instantly, an impact sound echoes in the hallway. Something strikes the door. Fraud. Don't make me laugh. It's the perfect accident. A beloved wife and daughter caught in an unfortunate fire. The grieving husband, in Chicago for business negotiations. The alibi is perfect. Michael's voice takes on a hint of madness. The sound of trying to force open the door. The dresser creaks. April lets out a small scream. At that moment, Melissa notices the bedding piled in the backyard. She had washed and hung it out to dry. A flash of inspiration strikes. April, remember those blankets? We all went shopping for them on Dad's birthday. Her daughter's eyes understand her mother's intention. Melissa opens the window and begins throwing down the bedding. Hearing the sound, Michael increases the force of his attacks on the door. It's useless to try to escape. Linda! Watch the backyard. A shout rises from below. Just as planned. There are signs of Linda heading to the backyard. Melissa throws down the next blanket. She times it carefully, gradually shifting the landing spot. Linda responds to Michael's voice. I'm watching. But I don't see them yet. They're hiding. The bedding is a decoy. Search every corner of the backyard. Linda's footsteps fade toward the back of the garden. This is their chance. Melissa throws the last piece with a big swing, drawing Linda's attention to the farthest point of the backyard. April, this is our moment. Her mother's voice rings out calmly. The dresser's creaking approaches its limit. The door seems ready to break at any moment. Those blankets are memories with Dad. Melissa grips April's hand tightly. Understanding colors her daughter's eyes. But it's time to throw them away for our new life. Mother and daughter slowly move to the corner of the room. They hold their breath, listening for Michael and Linda's movements. As expected, the two are focused on searching the backyard. During this time, they slightly move the dresser and open the door. The smell of kerosene wafting in the hallway stings their noses. They move along the wall toward the stairs without making a sound. One step, then another. Now, while Michael's attention is focused on the backyard, is their only chance. When they reach the bottom of the stairs, a strange smell wafts from the kitchen. Kerosene has been splashed across the floor, and beyond it lies a lit lighter. The flame is small but surely creeping toward the kerosene. April, run. Melissa's voice cuts through the darkness. Mother and daughter dash toward the entrance. The broken lock, which had been their enemy, now becomes their ally. Ha! Wait a minute. Linda's voice from the backyard. She's beginning to realize something's wrong. Michael. Check the front. But it's too late. Melissa and April had already burst through the front door. They run across the wet lawn, heading for the streetlight. Angry shouts echo behind them. They're getting away. Michael's curse. Linda's hurried footsteps. And from inside the house, the sound of something catching fire. The Johnsons' house. April shouts. Across the street, the regular Thursday bridge gathering is being held. Light and lively conversation leak from the windows. A place with people watching. People who can be witnesses. Mother and daughter ran with their last ounce of strength. The presence of Michael and Linda pursuing them. And behind them, orange flames begin to crawl along the trail of kerosene inside the house. A police siren pierces sharply through the quiet residential area of St. Paul. At 6:30 p.m., when the mother and daughter burst into the Johnsons' bridge party, the participants immediately called the police. Detective Murphy, who was on patrol, was the first to arrive, right after securing Melissa and April's safety. "That house is on fire. My husband and that woman." Melissa's voice trembles. Mrs. Johnson offers a blanket, gently wrapping it around the mother and daughter's shoulders. In front of the living room fireplace, April tries to control her trembling while holding a warm cup of cocoa. The perpetrators went around to the backyard. They should still be on the property. Her professional consciousness as a calm and collected nurse supports her even in this emergency. Detective Murphy immediately requests backup over the radio. St. Paul Police Special Operations units begin to converge with sirens blaring. The fire is spreading. Someone shouts. Looking back, orange flames begin to dance from the second-floor windows of the Wilson house. The fire from the kerosene spreads faster than expected. "Hurry the fire department." At Detective Murphy's order, fire truck sirens also approach. By then, neighborhood residents had noticed the situation and were gathering in the street. In the darkness, reporters with flashing cameras begin to appear. Fugitives secured. Apprehended on the main street. The radio crackles. Michael's figure illuminated by police car lights. The clean-cut businessman's appearance from earlier has vanished, replaced by an expression distorted by madness and desperation. Minutes later, Linda, who had tried to escape through the backyard, was also secured. "Mrs. Melissa Wilson, may we take your child's statement?" Detective Murphy asks politely. Female officers and child psychology counselors had already arrived on scene. Mother and daughter would be interviewed in separate rooms. "Mom." Melissa holds April tight as she looks anxious. "It's okay. We're safe now." Child consultation specialist Sarah Cohen would handle April's interview. In a warm reception room, April slowly begins to tell the full story of the incident. "3 days ago, I borrowed Dad's smartphone for school communications. That's when I saw the notification." The 12-year-old girl's voice sometimes trembles but explains the situation with surprising accuracy. The emails on her father's smartphone. The intimate exchanges with Linda. The insurance fraud plan. And the threats after discovery. "He said if I told the police, Mom would. I was scared, but today Dad came home earlier than planned." Meanwhile, Melissa's interview focused on confirming more specific facts. "My husband's life insurance policy was modified 3 months ago. Documents obtained from the insurance company gradually reveal the background of the incident. With the contract change, the insurance payout for accidental death had jumped to $3 million. A mortgage rider had been added, and the fire insurance coverage amount had also been increased. The relationship with Linda Parker from the Chicago branch seems to have started about a year ago. Shocking facts emerge one after another from the smartphones seized by investigators. The affair. Gambling debts. Online gambling. And the full extent of an amateurish murder plan disguised as a perfect scheme. Suspect Michael Wilson is maintaining complete silence. However, Linda Parker chose a different path. Looking to protect herself, she began to testify to everything. "We were planning to start a new life." Linda's voice in the interrogation room was hollow. "The plan was to get the insurance money and escape to the Caribbean. But we never imagined his daughter would notice." The mountain of evidence grows. The kerosene and lighter found in the black sports bag. The smartphone email history. Footage of their secret meetings caught on security cameras. Evidence of debt found in Michael's desk. And the $500,000 in cash that Linda had withdrawn just before the incident. Meanwhile, thanks to the fire department's desperate firefighting efforts, the Wilson house fire was contained to a minimum. Except for part of the second floor, the main structure of the building was safe. However, the kerosene traces remained as clear evidence of arson. "This is clearly an attempted murder case," Detective Murphy declared at the press conference. Thanks to the victim's calm judgment, her daughter's courage, and cooperation from the community, the worst outcome was avoided. The bells of St. Paul Cathedral announced 8 p.m. In just 2 hours since the incident occurred, Melissa and April's lives had changed dramatically. But community support and their strong bond pointed toward hope for their future life. "Mom, what's going to happen to us?" April asks in a small voice in the Johnsons' guest room. Melissa held her daughter tight. "It's going to be okay. We have many people on our side." Neighbors had voluntarily begun patrolling. Church volunteers were also starting to extend helping hands. The entire community was mobilizing to protect the wounded mother and daughter. 1 year has passed since the incident. Melissa Wilson was starting a new day as head nurse of the pediatric ward. "Mrs. Wilson, the boy in room 13's fever has gone down," a young nurse reports cheerfully. Melissa smiles gently. Since her promotion, she has been focusing on training newer staff. The experience of overcoming crisis had transformed her into a stronger, more compassionate person. "Mom, will you listen to my concert practice?" After returning home, April asks with violin in hand. Now 13 years old, she had begun healing her emotional wounds through music. Her lessons at the St. Paul Music Academy were nurturing new talent. What a lovely melody. Bach's tune flows through the living room. The interior, renovated over the past year, is bathed in warm light. All traces of the fire have been completely restored, and new furniture and bright color schemes have erased the dark memories of the past. In the backyard, a gardening club with neighborhood housewives now meets regularly. What was once a place of terror has now been reborn as a community gathering spot. Colorful flowers bloom as if celebrating the mother and daughter's new life. "Melissa, are you ready for tomorrow's charity event?" Mrs. Johnson calls to check. After the incident, bonds with neighbors had grown even stronger. The Thursday bridge gatherings have now become an essential social occasion for mother and daughter. Yes, April is looking forward to helping too. The charity event was organized to support victims of domestic violence. It was an activity born from their desire to turn their experience into hope for others suffering in similar situations. Meanwhile, the perpetrators were serving their days of atonement. Michael Wilson received a 20-year prison sentence for attempted murder. He's participating in prison rehabilitation programs, beginning to face his crimes. However, Melissa and April refused all contact with him. Cutting ties with the past was a necessary choice for walking their new path in life. His accomplice Linda Parker was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Mentally cornered, she reportedly lives an isolated life in prison. Ironically, her promised new life began in a prison cell. "Hey Mom, what do you want for Christmas?" April asks while helping with dinner preparations. They can no longer expect expensive gifts like before. Yet the mother and daughter's hearts are filled with a warmth of happiness they've never known before. Well. Melissa looks out the window. Maple trees beginning to show autumn colors shine in the sunset. On the street, she can hear neighborhood children playing happily. "Just seeing your smile is enough for me." At her mother's words, April runs over and hugs her. They both knew firsthand how precious such ordinary happiness is. A notification from St. Paul University had arrived at the entrance. Melissa had begun attending evening courses, aiming to earn a nursing education degree. A new dream had sprouted in her heart to use her experience in medical and educational settings. The aroma of her specialty casserole wafts from the kitchen. Tonight they're having dinner with an elderly neighbor who lives alone. People deepen their bonds while sharing warm meals. "I wonder if it will be sunny tomorrow." April looks up at the sky. Through breaks in the thick clouds, the sunset paints beautiful colors. "I'm sure it will be," Melissa answered with conviction. "Tomorrow will surely bring another new day." The dark memories of the past gradually fade. And in the hearts of mother and daughter, seeds of new hope were quietly but surely beginning to sprout. The bells of St. Paul Cathedral ring again. Their gentle tones spread through the twilight city. Like bells announcing the beginning of a new life, they resonated deeply in Melissa and April's hearts.